Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Not really sure exactly when I'm going to be doing the experiments. In our household, I typically do these in the evening, especially since I'm going to be recording. We happen to have two little kids and they're sleeping. Listen, it's actually quiet in our household. This is amazing. It just doesn't happen until they sleep. In this experiment, what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at temperature and size effects on how a certain substance is going to dissolve in water. So we're going to look at to see whether the substance dissolves faster in cold water or slower in cold water compared to hot water. Then next we're going to look at the size of the particles. Do larger particles dissolve faster or do smaller particles dissolve faster? And the chemical that we're going to be using is going to be Alka-Seltzer. So I have a bunch of Alka-Seltzer tablets here. I got the old measuring cup here, and what I've done is I've put tape back here so you can read the volume a little bit better. I have a drinking glass here. I'm going to use my cell phone to record the time. And then lastly, I have a thermometer. Now I know you guys have an alcohol thermometer. I have a digital thermometer. Yeah, I know, I'm a big nerd, but that's okay. The wife asks, what do I want for Christmas or my birthday? I want a digital thermometer. Yep, I know. I'm a nerd. That's okay. So to start out with, what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these Alka-Seltzer tablets and we're going to dissolve it into some cold water. So I have to get some cold water real quick. So I'm going to get 1 cup of cold water, which is about 8 fluid ounces, or about a 240 milliliters. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to place that in my drinking glass. So I'm going to place about a cup of cold water in the drinking glass. All right. I'm then going to use my thermometer and I'm going to record the temperature, and unfortunately you can't really see it, but it is reading about 22 degrees Celsius. So not all that cold. I probably could have ran it longer so it gets colder. But I would take that temperature and then I'll record that in the table in the lab. I'll then take an Alka-Seltzer tablet. All right. I'll take 1 tablet and I am going to hit start on my camera or on my phone once I drop it in there. And I'm going to allow it to continue collecting the time until that completely, totally dissolves. It's still fizzing, still fizzing, still fizzing. And once that has completely stopped fizzing, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the stopwatch on my phone. And so it looks like it's completely dissolved, and so I'm going to stop. Now that happened to take a little over 41 seconds. And I'm going to record that in my data table. And I'm going to continue doing the cold water until I get about 3 or 4 consistent measurements where the time is about the same, so long as the temperature is about the same. When I come back, we'll look at the hot water. Well, I'm back. As you can tell, the water's running. I'm going to let it get good and warm, and I'm going to get a 1 cup of hot water. So there's 1 cup of hot water. I'll pour it into the drinking glass. And I will record the temperature of that. And the temperature of that is about 45.5 degrees Celsius is the temperature of that. So I'm going to record that temperature in the data table provided, so be sure to do that. There's the glass, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop 1 Alka-Seltzer tablet into the hot water. The moment I drop it, I'm going to start the clock. So I started the clock. We're going to continue until the bubbles stop forming. So we're getting awfully close to the end. And there's still a little bit left. Alright, that seems to be about it. And that took about 19 seconds. I'm going to continue doing that till I get 3 or 4 trials where I get a nice consistent time. And then I'm going to move on to the second part. One thing I was going to mention is I didn't mention it previously, but once the experiment is done, you can simply just dump that down the drain and be sure to rinse out the glass. And when we get back, we'll talk about the size of the Alka-Seltzer tablet and how that affects the kinetics. Alright, so this happens to be the second part of the lab. In this part of the lab, what we're going to be looking at is we're looking at size. Alright, so it's going to be 2 parts to the second part of the lab. First part, what we're going to be doing is we're going to take an Alka-Seltzer tablet and break it up into about anywhere between 7 and 8 pieces. And we're going to dissolve that into water, the temperature of water. That's kind of insignificant. I'm just going to use room temperature water, whatever comes right out of the tap. And what we're going to do is we're going to then want to record the temperature of that water, just for consistent sake. And then we're going to record the time it takes for 7 or 8 large pieces of the Alka-Seltzer tablet to dissolve. Next, then, what we're going to do in the second part of that is we're going to take an Alka-Seltzer tablet and completely pulverize it with a spoon and then put that into basically room temperature water and see how long that takes to dissolve. So to start, I'm going to start out with a cup of basically room temperature water. So I've got my 1 cup of room temperature water. We can record the temperature of that. I have the red background there, simply so you can see the size of the tablets. And so right now the temperature of water is about 22 degrees Celsius. I'm going to take that water, I'm going to put it into my drinking glass. Alright. Now I'm going to take an Alka-Seltzer tablet, as I have here. It's already broken apart, so I'll take this and I'll break it up into just a few pieces. So what do we have there? Got 2, 4, 6, 8. So we have about 8 pieces. Alright, so I'm going to take those 8 pieces. Alright. I am going to, oops, I got to unlock my phone. Thing locks itself quite a bit. So I'm going to restart that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop that into the water. And when it's done bubbling, then I'm going to stop the clock. So I'll start it now. So I start it. It's continuing to bubble. Getting close to the end there. Now those pieces have floated up to the top and they're still bubbling just a little bit. It should end pretty soon. And so this is a little bit more of a judgment call when it's done, but I'm going to end it there. And so that was just under 34 seconds. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to record this in the data table provided. I'm going to continue to repeat this portion of the experiment till I get 3 to 4 good consistent data sets, and then we'll move on to the last part of this experiment. Once again, every time you do a trial like this, it can go down the drain. It's not going to hurt anything. Alright, I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back now. This is the last portion of this experiment, and what we're going to be doing here is we're going to take an Alka-Seltzer tablet and we're going to pulverize it using I'm going to use a spoon. You can use hammer, whatever you want to use. And so I'm just going to take a spoon and I'm going to just break this up into the smallest pieces. So the first part of this, what we did is we looked at very large samples, right? And that took, I don't know, it took about just under 34 seconds for me the last time I did this. All right, and so now I've got this broken up to some really fine dust. All right. And I'm going to once again use room temperature water, so I'm going to get it directly right from the tap. I'm going to use 1 cup. All right. Hopefully you can see the pulverized it pretty good. Alright, I'm going to take my cup and I'm going to put my 1 cup of basically room temperature water, and I'm going to measure the temperature of that. It happens to be, once again, 22 degrees Celsius. Alright, I'm going to record that temperature in the data table provided. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get ready to put this into my cup of water. Alright, so I'm going to get it kind of lined up. Sort of wish I had another hand, but that's life. Alright, now I'm going to, when I dump it in there, I'm going to hit start. So as you can tell, the reaction goes a whole lot faster because the smaller particles, and I'm going to stop it, because the smaller particles have a greater amount of surface area such that the reaction occurs faster. And that, in the exact same temperature water, lasted maybe a little bit 9 seconds. I probably ended it a little bit too fast. I still hear some fizzing. But you can tell that this reaction is going to go a whole lot faster because of the greater surface area. I'm going to continue doing this experiment until I've got 3 to 4 trials that match up quite well. Now you can dump this once again down the drain, and then what you'll turn in is you'll turn in your data tables and any of the post-lab questions I have. I hope you have a good day, and if you have any questions, please let me know.